Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome to our 197th episode. Happy New Year, my dear friends. Welcome to 2025. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. Truly, it makes it all worthwhile. Please continue to follow me on Instagram and across the board on all social media at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z, XENSAMS. And remember that all of our episodes now stream 24/7 on your home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide. And of course, you can always find us directly right there on our YouTube channel, Zen Sams. In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, today we're breaking barriers and banking name, image, and likeness. That's right. Meet the twin basketball phenoms leading the charge for women's sports, Mia and Mya Pauldo, also known as TBC or TwinBackCourt on the gram. With full scholarships to the University of Tennessee awaiting them, Mia and Mya are poised to become household names. Today, we're chatting about what makes these young trailblazers unique, the challenges they've faced, and the lessons they're taking with them to Tennessee. In the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift and our Expert on the Microphone series, today we're joined by Dr. Jamil Ahmad, a renowned plastic surgeon specializing in aesthetic surgery and rhinoplasty with over 5,000 procedures performed since 2010. He is the president of the board of directors of the Rhinoplasty Society. He's going to join me to discuss how he helps patients achieve natural-looking results with reduced recovery time following facelifts, flap surgeries, and rhinoplasties, and how CO2 Lift is at the heart of it all. In the Scandals segment brought to you by Your Home TV, we're featuring Imran Ansari of Idala Bertuna Kamens, also known as ABK Law, right here in New York City. He's also a regular contributor and legal analyst on Law and Crime. Today, we're going to explore a chilling trend that has sparked debate across the nation: the rise of highly educated, Ivy League educated white men in their 20s who allegedly commit heinous crimes. Two cases stand out, in particular, Luigi Mangione and Brian Koberger. In the Express Polished Beauty segment, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon and OBGYN, Dr. Daisy Aim chats double chin, cost-effective methods, minimal recovery time procedures to make it all disappear. Stay tuned for the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. We're going to be chatting with Mya and Mya Pauldo coming up next. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. This is the Hydration with Heart segment, proudly brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Today, we're chatting all about breaking barriers and banking on name, image, and likeness. That's right. Meet the twin basketball phenoms leading the charge for women's sports. Mya and Mya Pauldo, also known as TBC or TwinBackCourt, are not only dominating high school basketball, but are also making history. These twins from Paterson, New Jersey, have shattered barriers, becoming the first female high school athletes to secure a name, image, and likeness deal with, you heard it, Puma. They've worked with brands like Gatorade, Lego, and Nissan, starred in their own Overtime reality series, and led their team to championship victory in the Overtime Select League. But their success isn't just about stats or brand partnerships. It's truly a testament to their hustle, their humor, and their ability to inspire young athletes worldwide. With full scholarships to the University of Tennessee awaiting them, Mia and Mya are poised to become household names. Let's dive into what makes these young trailblazers tick, the challenges they faced, and the lessons they're taking with them to the very next level. This is the Hydration with Heart segment, and let's dive right in. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Thank you for having us.
You're even in tune with your greetings. Wow. Oh
I
boy.
mean,
Okay. I know. So, Maya, we're gonna start with you. So let's kick things off with something game changing. Literally, you and Mia made history as the first female high school athletes to sign name, image, and likeness deal with Puma, and that's a monumental milestone considering that just 2 years ago, nil opportunities didn't even exist for high school athletes, and the NCAA rule change in 2021 really did open up a $1 billion market, but only a sliver of that pie goes to women's sports. So, how does it feel to not just play the game, but also change it by breaking barriers for women in sports?
I feel very blessed and very grateful for being like the role models to people and just having those type of opportunities other people don't have. And we're just really showing how much we love the game and we're just showing who we are. And I'm very excited and just grateful to have those opportunities.
What's your perspective, Mia?
Yeah, we're trailblazers and we love doing things first. And we're real competitive. So even if it comes on the business side on the court, we love being the first to do it, everything we're doing. But like Maya said, I'm real grateful to be a role model to the ones after us and even the ones before us because most of them, all of them didn't have the opportunities that we're having today with NIL and getting brands and stuff like that. So I'm real grateful for having the opportunity to get all those things done.
Yeah, it's such a powerful reminder, really, if you think a bit of how the right opportunity combined with grit and talent can really reshape an entire industry. I mean, you're not just making history, you're laying a foundation for other young women to follow. And that's truly revolutionary, girls. So, congratulations to all of your success.
Thank you.
Now let's shift gears back to you, Mia. Over overtime series, no limits with Maya and Mia. I mean, a recent survey found that 75% of Gen Z prefers content that feels authentic, and your show delivers just that. We see your grind, your bond of sisters, and even the not so glamorous moments. So, what has the experience been like putting your lives on such a public platform, and how do you balance authenticity with keeping some parts of your journey private?
I mean, we surround ourselves with great people. As you see on our show, everyone that's been a part of the show or had their faces in the show plays a part of our development and us as people. We trust the ones close to us and we keep that circle tight. And we know how to read energy well. So, and for us to be able to have our own show, it's crazy. Like I can imagine myself having like being on a movie or something like that. Like it's just, I'm so grateful for that, and we're so funny. We have the humor and the personality. So just to have it out there and being great people on and off the court, and to be able to see that on TV, I think it's just a great thing. You know?
You're so young with so much insight, definitely old souls. And it's so relatable and honestly inspiring to hear how intentional you are about maintaining your success and the balance. And your show doesn't just entertain it empowers people to see that full picture of what it takes to really succeed. So I think you guys are onto something incredible. Now, Maya, let's talk about juggling it all. Studies show that student athletes spend an average of 30 hours per week on their sport, and that's without factoring in these responsibilities like brand deals or social media. So you're not just running a schedule, you're running an empire. Walk us through a typical day in your life. How do you keep up the energy and focus to manage school, sports, and everything else?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy for an average student to do what we're doing, student athlete to do what we're doing. But I think we're able to maneuver our schedule because we have each other and we just like rely on each other. We help each other if we're stressing or anything like that. We just know what's the main focus, and it's always school first and then basketball.
Now, Mia, let's dive into basketball's life lessons. So, Purdue recently found that 78% of former athletes say their time in sports taught them leadership, teamwork, and resilience. So you and your sister have been described as the best high school backcourt in the nation. So clearly basketball is more than just game for you. What life lessons has the sport taught you, and how do you think those lessons will shape your next chapter at the University of Tennessee?
Basketball has taught me to be able to deal with different people personalities, and being able to acknowledge someone and critique someone's work without being negative, and go a different way about it, um, and as well as making connections with people on different teams. On the court, you compete against each other, but off the court it's always respect. So I feel like that's a life lesson as well.
It is. It's fascinating to see how sports translate into life skills that extend far beyond the court, like you just said. And the Lady Vols are not just, getting talented players; they're getting true leaders like you. So it's amazing. Now, Maya, let's talk family. You've both mentioned how instrumental your family has been in your journey. I know for a fact that your dad, DJ, is an incredible support system and role model. And it's no surprise. Research from the NCAA highlights that nearly 70% of student athletes credit family support as a key to their success. So, what's the most important lesson your family has taught you? And how does that foundation keep you grounded amidst all the success?
They always tell us to surround ourselves with people we want to be around, and I feel like we found people that are gonna be our friends or just be the people we want to be around forever. And I think that's why we're so successful, because we stay around people we want to be around on the court, off the court, and just that will help support us throughout our journey. And another thing they also taught us is to always be confident, and that's why we're so outgoing and we're able to show people who we are, and we're not scared to do that, because they just always told us to keep our head high, be who you are, and don't ever be scared to do anything. And that's what's helping us succeed the most.
Those are such important life lessons. It's so touching to hear how deeply rooted you are in your family values. It's a true testament to how success starts at home and grows outward, right? Now, Mia, let's look ahead to the future. Okay. I want to, between college and these name, image, likeness opportunities, and eventually the WNBA, your potential, both of you, it seems limitless. But what's remarkable is how you and your sister are already thinking about the legacy that you want to leave behind, right? So, what are your ultimate goals, both individually and as a duo? And how do you hope to leave your mark on women's basketball?
Personally, I want to be the freshman player of the year, in the SEC and in the NCAA. Um, I want to become one of my goals is to become a better point guard, and I know being a player under Coach Kim Caldwell, I know that will be possible because she's such a great coach. Um, and I also want to lead in steals because I really want to work on my defense as well. I just want to be an overall player. And then overall together, I want to win national championship. That's the main focus. And with the group that's coming in next year, I think we have a possibility of doing
Wow. All right, sister, you're up.
Yeah, she said it all. I definitely want to be I want to be the all defensive player in the SEC, and I think like all NCAA as well. I also want to lead in steals, like Mia said, and assists, because I want to just make those passes to my teammates and knock those shots down, and like also like Mia said, win a natty.
Now, your vision is incredibly inspiring, right? You're not just aiming for success. We just heard it. You're aiming to redefine what success looks like for women's sports. If you could give advice to your younger selves, I know that you guys are still fairly young, but Mia, what advice would you give to your younger self?
that. To continue to be confident, to continue to get out your comfort zone, because at some point you have to be comfortable with uncomfortability, and that's something my parents taught us. So we're able to adapt to any environment we're in. So I would tell my younger self to continue to do that, and be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because at some point that's just life.
I like it. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. All right. Maya, what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to just have just have a regular regimen of working out and just working on body parts that are injured or were injured and just keep it strong, because as we're getting older, we're not as flexible, or we'll have injuries that reoccur from when we were younger and we never treated it as we would now. So I would be more consistent with that as I was younger, even though I was young, so I wasn't really thinking of that because we healed quick and we were flexible, but it takes a toll on your body now.
So be kind to your body. If you take great advice to your younger self, I mean, these are very wise words that you're telling our listeners, and in saying so and in putting those words out there, people are truly listening to you and being inspired by what you're saying. And both of you said something very interesting. One said, "Hey, listen, go back and take care of your body. You're going to need it forevermore." And the other one said, "Hey, listen, go back and don't stop believing and being confident and just stay the course." And I think that that's exactly what both of you have done. Now, before we wrap up, what is, now you can each answer this, but one thing that is a fun fact about the other that not many people know about, but that's very different. Okay, so Mia, what is it about your sister? I want one fun fact that you think is pretty cool that nobody knows about her.
Dang, I already have mine for you.
Oh boy, now I can't wait to hear.
All right, I'm gonna just go first. Mia is a really good writer. She writes a lot of poems and she likes poetry. She likes to read it. And she's really
Oh,
good at writing those.
oh, look at you, little creative. You're not just an athlete, you're a poet. Okay, I like that. All right, are you gonna give us something back for your sis?
I would say that she's a great cook and a great baker, but everyone knows
Oh,
that.
oh, okay. Well, no, I didn't know that.
Me
Okay.
drawing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's talk about her drawing because she's a great drawer. Like she's so descriptive on her like eyes and the angles of the eyeballs and everything. Like she knows how to.
Oh, you're a detailed artist.
Yeah, she knows how to draw a nice mouth, a nice face. Yeah.
You
You're
guys
a
are
great
so funny.
artist. That's good. You're a great artist. Yeah.
Oh, you guys are amazing. All right. Well, I have one more last question here. So, looking ahead between the college opportunities and eventually everything that you have going on, um, if you could pick one lane outside of basketball, I had this question I wanted to ask you. You can't pursue basketball. What career would you pursue?
A dancer.
Really?
Or actor.
Yeah, I would try to pursue being an actor or a model.
We did a lot when we were younger then. Like we were models, we were actors, we were dancers, like we did a lot. We did softball, we did gymnastics, so we could have done a lot of things.
Wow. Well, I still feel that you're doing all of that, but now it's under the guise of pro athletes, and all of that is still there. You're still models, you're still actors, you're still ambassadors. Everything that you did as younger versions prepared you for this very day, because what you don't realize is that you probably would not be able to endure the stardom, the fame, the celebrity, and all the attention had you not had that preparation as young little dancers and actors and ambassadors. So your mom and dad knew exactly what they were doing, and that's part of road mapping the your child's future in the proper way. So not only do you have a great support system, but you have some really smart momagers and dadagers back there.
You're right.
All right, my dears, we're officially out of time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us again.
You're welcome. And that's a wrap on today's Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. That was Maya and Mia, and they've inspired us all with their drive, their authenticity, and their vision for the future. And to anyone listening, you can follow them on the gram at TBCMIA number 3 and at TBCMYA number 2 for a behind-the-scenes look at their journey. And you can also head to TwinBackCourt 23. This has been a moment of Zen. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories that remind us all to dream big and play even bigger. We'll be right back after this. This is the Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Happy New Year and welcome to 2025. Welcome to another Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. In our Expert on the Microphone series, today we're joined by Dr. Jamil Ahmad, a renowned plastic surgeon specializing in aesthetic surgery and rhinoplasty with over 5,000 procedures performed since 2010. He's served in many prominent leadership roles, including assistant professor at the University of Toronto, VP on the executive committee of the board of directors of the Aesthetic Society, president of the board of directors of the Rhinoplasty Society, and he's also authored more than 180 articles and chapters, and he's given over 500 lectures globally. He's definitely a key figure driving innovation and education in plastic surgery. He's going to join me today to discuss how he helps patients achieve natural-looking results with reduced recovery time following facelifts, flap surgeries, and rhinoplasties, and how CO2 Lift is at the heart of it all. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hey, Zen, thanks so much for having me on. It's really a pleasure to spend time with you today.
So honored to have you. Expert on the microphone, supercharged. So you certainly have an impressive list of accomplishments over a wide range of cosmetic surgeries and are sought after for your expertise and really just delivering that natural result. So let's talk about that. Many patients today prioritize natural looking outcomes. How do you manage patient expectations and ensure that your approach aligns with this goal of achieving this refreshed, but still keeping that authentic appearance?
Zen, I think that's a really great question. Getting a natural appearing result is imperative, at least in my mind. And I think communication forms a foundation for a good relationship between a plastic surgeon and his or her patient. I think the surgeon needs to communicate both what the options are, what the upsides, the downsides are, what the most likely outcome is, and what potentially negative outcomes can be. And I think a patient also has to communicate clearly what they're hoping to accomplish from a treatment. And I think you need honest communication. The other thing that helps a lot these days, I think, with the internet and social media is there's just so much more content out there that patients can research and get an idea of. And that's good and bad because there's some very good, accurate, honest content, factual content. And then there's also content there that can be misleading, potentially not present things as they are. And I think it's important to have that discussion so that a patient can really understand what's real, what's a real expectation of an outcome from a surgical or non-surgical treatment.
Well, that's put perfectly into perspective, and you're 100% right. It's all about communication, realistic expectations, and more importantly, managing those expectations, because I'm sure patients are coming in with pictures saying, I want to look like that. And that's not always realistic, right? Now, let's shift to the recovery process. So before patients can see these natural results in full, they must fully heal, and downtime can differ from procedure to procedure. But one thing that we know can significantly decrease downtime and enhance procedure results across the board is CO2 Lift. And we're talking about CO2 Lift Pro, which is the strongest version of this non-invasive carboxy gel, and it can only be provided to patients by medical professionals like yourself. But before we dive into how you use it on your patients, can you describe the application process and how CO2 Lift functions on a cellular level?
It's very easy to use. It comes in 2 packets. You open the packets, combine it, mix it for about 30 seconds. That activates the gel, and the gel is applied to skin, and carbon dioxide then diffuses through the skin into the skin and the tissues just below that. And carbon dioxide does a few things. When you think of healing and what wounds need to heal properly, oxygen is a major component. That's basically powers all of the metabolism in a cell. And how does oxygen get to the tissues? Well, it gets there through blood flow and through blood vessels. And blood vessels are very reactive. They can get tighter or they can get looser. And obviously, when they get looser, and it's called vasodilation, then there's increased blood flow to an area. So CO2 or carbon dioxide causes vasodilation in the small blood vessels, and that increases blood flow. The next thing it does is that within the blood and within the red blood cell, there's hemoglobin, right? And hemoglobin's a protein that carries oxygen molecules in the cell. And hemoglobin is very responsive to different things in the environment. And so when there's increased CO2, hemoglobin releases oxygen. So you can imagine in tissues like when you exercise and you create lactic acid, your body needs to bring in oxygen to metabolize that lactic acid, right? So in a situation in tissues where it's more acidic, you're going to release more oxygen from the hemoglobin. And carbon dioxide does the same thing, right? So when there's higher carbon dioxide in the tissues need more oxygen. So hemoglobin then releases or has less affinity for the oxygen that it's carrying. So, I mean, the human body is just incredible how it works.
It's fascinating. It's basically a hyperbaric oxygen chamber in a gel mask, if you really think of it, right? Because
Yep.
that neoangiogenesis is what's taking place throughout all of this. And I love that it's been around since the 1930s, but yet the method of delivery is now non-invasive. They used to inject it. So now this is great that with all these technologies and these new modalities that you have pre and post procedure to help your patients, and then the outcomes, of course, are so much more rewarding. Now, let's hone in on a few specific procedures, starting with facelifts. So, with an increased interest in facelifts, how have you integrated modern technologies like CO2 lift or even other techniques to improve their outcomes?
I think that's a great question. I mean, there's constant innovation in medicine and also in plastic surgery. Uh, but I think if you take a step back and you think about what really makes the difference, I think it's really the provider, the physician, right? You got to go to someone who's, experienced, who has a lot of insight, who understands what the current science is, what the clinical data shows. And then that provider is going to take in all of the different treatment modalities that can be used and integrate those to create the best treatment plan for an individual patient, right? And as we talked about before, communication is critical about not only what's going to be done, but I spend a lot of time preoperatively talking about what the postoperative recovery is going to be, right? Because I want my patient to really understand each step of the way so there's as few surprises as possible. Now, as we move into the recovery period, there's a lot of things we can do, right? I mean, I think good follow-up with your surgeon is imperative. There's things that we can do for incision care and then scar management. And now we're seeing things that are essentially simple, safe, and effective, like CO2 lift that we can apply to skin, to tissue, to incision lines, that's going to enhance healing by increasing blood flow, increasing oxygenation, decreasing the inflammatory response. And that affects things at a few levels. Number one is, I think you're reducing the risk of complications, and even small complications like breakdown in the incision or excessive scarring. But I think the other thing we're much more aware of now is patient experience, right? So increased comfort, decreased pain in the recovery period. And having used CO2 lift on a fair amount of patients, I started in the practice in the past year where I was using it when there was a problem, when there was a wound healing problem, because I want to enhance oxygenation in the tissues and really try to help the incision to heal and the wound to heal. And now it's gone to using it in patients at the time surgery's finished, to try to enhance not only blood flow and reduce the risk of wound healing complications, but also to try to increase comfort in the postoperative period. And I hear from patients, they'll say, oh, well, after my tummy tuck, the incision feels so much better. It just doesn't feel dry. I find when I apply it, for the first few hours after, the incision feels great. But then as the day goes on, it's a bit more sore again. And then when I apply it the next day, the incision feels great again. So I think that whole idea of really trying to enhance the patient experience in recovery is becoming central in how we provide care for our patients in plastic surgery.
Wow, what a revolutionary product, really, truly. And it's so simple. It's the simplest thing. Now let's shift to flap surgery, which involves transporting live tissue from one location of the body to another and is often done in reconstructive surgeries. And for our listeners, flap surgery can be really complex and requires a careful recovery process, healing two sites of the body. How do flaps enhance functionality and aesthetics in these cases? And what steps do you take to help patients recover safely and effectively?
Yeah, I think, flap surgery, flap's a very broad term to describe a lot of what we do, which is moving some type of tissue from one area of the body to another. What most of your listeners are going to understand is something like a tummy tuck, where we're not only removing the extra skin in the lower tummy, but we're actually releasing some of the upper tummy skin and then moving it to the lower tummy to make things tighter, right? And that in itself is an example of a flap. And if we shift to the other end of the spectrum of flap surgery, which is free flap surgery and microsurgery, where we essentially will take tissue, let's say skin and fat, along with the major blood vessel that supplies it, essentially unplug it from one area. So let's say the lower tummy, and then in breast reconstruction, we'll plug it into a blood vessel in the rib cage to reconstruct the breast, right? To provide skin and volume in the form of fat, right? And so you have different types of flap surgery, and often in these free flap surgeries, you're not only taking care of the area like the breast that's being reconstructed, but you're also taking care of the donor site, which would be the lower abdomen. So you're doing a big surgery and having to manage multiple sites. And again, it's, I think, a similar approach to what we do in aesthetic surgery, right? You're trying to plan an appropriate surgery that's going to have a very good chance of a positive outcome, and you want to reduce any potential for negative outcome. And that, again, goes back to the planning, the execution of the operation, and then also the postoperative care, right? Trying to ensure that the patient has a great experience, trying to make sure that their incisions and their wounds heal without any issues, and then also trying to make sure that pain and discomfort is minimized.
Now, you're also an expert in rhinoplasty, co-authoring the third and fourth editions of Dallas Rhinoplasty and serving as the president of the board of directors of the Rhinoplasty Society, which is an international professional organization for surgeons specializing in rhinoplasty. Can't get any more expert than this. Now, this is especially impressive as rhinoplasty is in fact one of the most difficult procedures in plastic surgery to achieve consistently good results. So as an expert, what new technologies or techniques have you implemented in regard to this area?
For the most part, when patients come to see me for rhinoplasty, they come in wanting to look natural, right? There might be something they don't like about their nose, but they want to achieve a result that's going to fit their face, that's going to complement their facial features, right? They're not trying to get a cookie cutter nose like in decades past in the 70s and 80s, where you went in for rhinoplasty and the same technical maneuvers were done on every patient and essentially created somewhat of a similar result on every patient. And for many patients would look, overdone. And so patients come in with an expectation to have a natural appearing result. That's great because it means that it's going to fit their face now, it's going to fit their face in the future. It also means that it's not going to be a nose that's excessively small or exaggerated. And the nose needs to be a certain size to work properly, right? Because we breathe through our nose, and that's really a critical function. And then with that, I think what's happened is technically there's been a shift of what we're doing to the cartilage under the nose. So in decades past, there was a lot more removal of cartilage and weakening of cartilage to create a smaller, pointier nose. Now we're really much more conscious about doing structural rhinoplasty, so supporting weak areas of the nose, maintaining structural support in the nose during rhinoplasty. And we do that through a variety of techniques to manipulate the cartilage. Sometimes it's folding the cartilage on itself so that we're not actually removing it. We can make it a bit smaller, but then it's still as strong. Other times we borrow a bit of cartilage from other areas, sometimes inside the septum, and actually move that to another area of the nose to provide support. And that's really a key to a great long-term result. It's like building a house. If you have a great foundation and frame, you're going to have a great house. If you don't have that, then you're going to notice that things start to go wrong sooner, right? So I think that's critical.
Well said. Now, serving as an assistant professor and a leader in various professional organizations, why do you believe being educated on the latest trends and technologies, even something as simple as CO2 lift, is crucial in the field of plastic surgery? I mean, not just for practicing health professionals, but also for both students, especially in an era of such rapid advancements.
I think that's exactly it, Zen, is that we need to be up to date. That serves our patients best. There's continuous innovation. There are a lot of things that we didn't do in the past that are becoming really a standard in terms of providing the best patient care. And it's important to keep up to date. And, personally, I've been involved since finishing my residency in our professional organizations. As you stated, I've been involved in the Aesthetic Society, which is the largest professional organization for board-certified plastic surgeons who specialize in aesthetic surgery or cosmetic surgery. I was recently the past president of the Canadian Society for Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons, which is our version of that in Canada. I'm currently the president of the Rhinoplasty Society. And, it's very important to be involved because this is where a lot of the innovation is put out to the professionals, right? So this is where the latest science is presented. This is where the newest techniques are taught. And so when we go to these meetings, we get a great opportunity to continue our medical education, to continue to learn and improve our craft, and that ultimately benefits our patients. Also at these meetings, a lot of the innovations from industry are there, right? So like CO2 lift being a new product, it works, it's simple, safe, effective. That's what you want for patients. And if one's not participating within the profession, I think they miss out on a lot of these opportunities to learn about new innovations that are going to directly benefit their patients and improve their patients' experience.
Wow, you have a lot on your plate, president of a lot of different organizations. And I love that you take it with so much grace and just continue to um, educate others, because that, of course, will come back full circle. Now, we have about a minute left. Are there any other emerging trends or techniques that you're especially excited about in the plastic surgery field and that patients should be aware of as we begin 2025?
Zen, I think there's so many things that can come out from industry and so many different technologies, and also in the non-surgical space. In the past year, I've been most enthusiastic about CO2 lift because when I learned about it, it just made sense to me. The science is there, and like I said, simple, safe, effective. Any of us can use it in our practices right away. And so that's the thing I've been most enthusiastic about. With innovation, I think the most important thing for your audience to know still is really spend time doing your research on who's caring for you. Get yourself a good physician, someone who's experienced, someone who's honest, someone who's going to be there for you before and after your treatment, especially surgery. And I think that's the most important thing, because if you have a great physician, a great surgeon taking care of you, then they're going to do all of the research for you about what's the best technique, what's the best technology, what are the best, topical products that can be used, but just find that right surgeon to take care of you.
Well said. Well, we are at the end of our date, my friend. I thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure chatting with you, very inspiring, and thank you so much for all your knowledge.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, Zen.
That was our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift in our Expert on the Microphone series. And that was renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Jamil Ahmad, specializing in aesthetic surgery and rhinoplasty. Be sure to head to rhinoplasty.society.org, which he is the president, and the Aesthetic Society.org, where he serves as vice president. And of course, do check him out on the gram at Dr. J. Ahmed. And of course, check out the Aesthetic Society at the Aesthetic SOS right on Instagram. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Do you have the dream of starting and owning your own business or know of someone who does? If so, check out Your Home Business program, where they inspire, equip, and encourage those who dream of owning and operating their own business. Check out Your Home Business on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up in just a few minutes, we have the Scandal segment brought to you by Your Home TV and their channel partners. And today we're featuring Imran Ansari of Idala Bertuna Kamins, otherwise known as ABK Law, right here in New York City. He's also a regular contributor and legal analyst on law and crime. Today, we explore a chilling trend that has sparked debate across the nation: the rise of highly educated, Ivy League educated white men in their 20s who allegedly commit heinous crimes. Two cases stand out in particular: Luigi Mangione and Brian Kohberger. Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, has been charged in connection with the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Allegations point to meticulous planning, including the use of a ghost gun, and anti-corporate ideologies discovered in a manifesto upon his arrest. Brian Kohberger, a 29-year-old criminology PhD student, stands trial for the 2022 brutal slayings of 4 University of Idaho students. Evidence linking him to the crime scene has raised unsettling questions about the paradox of a man studying criminal justice while allegedly committing such an act. Both cases reveal unsettling similarities: high education, privilege, and meticulous methods that baffle law enforcement and the public alike. To help us break this down, we're joined by Imran Ansari. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thanks for having me, Zen.
Okay, so the paradox here is hard to ignore, Imran. We have two individuals, Mangione and Kohberger, who come from privileged academic backgrounds. I mean, this isn't your typical criminal profile, yet their alleged crimes are heinous, calculated, and seemingly defy logic. And studies suggest that traits such as narcissism, suppressed aggression, or even a desire for notoriety can drive individuals like these. So what psychological factors might drive highly educated individuals like Mangione and Kohberger to commit such violent acts seemingly at odds with their backgrounds?
Sure. And Zen, of course, these individuals, both Mangione and Brian Kohberger, are innocent until proven guilty. So they enjoy that presumption of innocence right now until they are tried and found guilty by a jury of their peers. But two factors or more. There could be a desire to have that fame, like you said, Zen. There's a trait that is common in serial killers, those who are killing for fame, that they enjoy to see their names in the papers. They get some sort of satisfaction from that. And that could be some sort of factor we have here. Of course, Brian Kohberger was studying criminology in a PhD, so he was infused with criminology and crime and forensics. And then, of course, he's alleged to have committed this murder on the campus of that university. Then you have someone like Mangione. This guy seemingly had everything. You see, which is sort of somewhat morbid and disturbing, but this public attraction to him. He's a good-looking guy. He's a young guy. He comes from a family of wealth and seeming political influence and social influence. Yet here he is, alleged to have committed this crime and done so in a premeditated state where it was meticulously planned. Of course, he was caught and is alleged to now have committed the crime. But that could be also some desire for fame or notoriety like that. There's also a possibility that both these individuals may have been suffering from mental health illnesses. And that's something what does not discriminate against socioeconomic lines, whether someone is educated or highly educated versus someone who may be from poverty and have gone on to commit crimes. If it's mental health based, then that's something that doesn't discriminate. And it's a factor that has to be considered actually in both these alleged crimes where these individuals are alleged to have committed them.
Well, Mangione's mother was interviewed and she released a statement to somebody in the authorities saying, I could see my son doing something like this. I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement from a mother, right? So it's interesting that you bring up mental health, because if you go back to why she would have felt like that, perhaps there was a decline in his mental health or behavior leading up to this alleged crime, right? That the mother was able to even point out. So mental health could be a huge play here. And your perspective is so fascinating, the one that alludes to wanting fame and notoriety, right? I mean, it's really, it's very sobering to realize that psychological traits like suppressed aggression can exist even among the most outwardly successful individuals. And it certainly challenges, like what you said, that societal assumption, right? So let's talk about the role of education, right? Traditionally, education is viewed as a deterrent to crime. Yet in these cases, we see how their intelligence and academic backgrounds may have even empowered their alleged actions. I mean, Koberger's studies in criminology, for example, may have given him insight into avoiding detection, and Mangione's like technical skills pretty much enabled the construction of a ghost gun meticulously planned. So how might their advanced education influence their methods and motivation in committing these crimes? This is what you see every day, Imran.
Sure. So starting with Mangione, I mean, we already have evidence that he was studying certain ideologies and he was critical of, say, capitalism in some ways or big pharma. And he was doing some research on his own in terms of some of these ideologies and being outspoken about that. And you've seen him when he was being brought into the prison after he was apprehended. He was very combative with the media, and he was sort of spewing what seems to be ideological, ranting and utterances. And of course, if we are looking at the evidence in this case, there was deny, defend, depose etched into the shell casings of these bullets, which shows a very a study, because there was the book which was criticizing big pharma and healthcare in this country, and that was etched on the shell. So you're seeing a motive based not on necessarily just mindless violence, although this is a tragedy and this is clearly a violent killing, but it's based on an ideology or a belief system that is now almost like an intellectual killer. It is someone who is targeting another based on that teachings or understandings that they have got through reading, through study, and it has now manifested itself not in just, say, extreme or voicing out against healthcare or big pharma or the industry here in this country or capitalism or what have you, but it actually manifested itself in a violent act. And of course, he's alleged to have committed that violent act, and he has that pedigree, which doesn't necessarily fit the public's image or stereotype of a cold-blooded killer. And when you look to someone like Bryan Kohberger, it's somewhat of a similar thing. This guy was studying to get his PhD in criminology. And with Bryan Kohberger, did the study of criminology that was a line crossed where the study of it perhaps became a fascination with it, and had led him to allegedly committed this multi-murder, homicide on the campus of that university. And could the teachings or the study inform some of the actions that he took after that killing that he's alleged to have committed? So it's fascinating where you see these two individuals. And I think that's why the public is so focused on these cases.
All right, let's chat societal pressures. There's no denying the pressures that individuals from privileged, high-achieving backgrounds face. Expectations from family, society, and even peers can sometimes lead to disillusionment or even breakdowns. The question arises, when does that pressure become too much, leading to radical or violent outcomes? Imran, could societal pressures and the burden of expectations contribute to the radicalization of criminal behaviors of such individuals?
When we talk about societal pressures, we could take the word societal and look at the term social media. And I raise this because there's such an access to information out there now for, let's say, a young mind such as Mangione or Koberger. And not only is there the information that's available to them, but a lot of misinformation. And I think we've seen that sort of trend where, whether it be in politics, where people are sometimes latching on to some views that, or fake news or misinformation that's out there that is later debunked, but it starts sort of a frenzy of thought and communications out there about something, and may lead someone to violence. Who knows, right? And then you have that situation potentially here where they're accessing information, they're seeing, the ability to maybe get notoriety very quickly now that there's social media and there's so much information at our fingertips. And it could be leading the societal pressures, could be stemming from things like that, the need for attention. Maybe they've been rejected in life, or they have everything at their fingertips and with that silver spoon, so to say. And in a weird way, it's manifesting itself in their minds to reject that and maybe go to the total opposite extreme and reject some of that societal norm that they've been accustomed to in their lives. So it could be the pressure, it could be social media, it could be, access to disinformation or misinformation, that all comes together maybe in the crucible of a mental health issue, and it manifests itself with these sort of conditions that leads to a violent crime like we see here. So there's a lot of pressure on youth, let's say in the age range of both these young men, that could have manifested itself in the most extreme form here, what we're seeing now.
Let's pivot to legal implications. We know that the legal system aims for impartiality, but the reality is often more complex. Studies have shown that socioeconomic status, education, and even race can sometimes influence sentencing and legal outcomes. In cases like Mangione and Koberger, where privilege and education are at play, the public often wonders, will they be treated differently under the law? Do defendants like Mangione and Koberger receive different legal considerations, Imran, due to their educational backgrounds and societal status?
So they shouldn't. And if it's established through the evidence that either of these two individuals committed the crime at trial, when it comes down to sentencing, there's going to be mandatory minimums in many ways, especially if they are convicted of murder. And I don't expect that there would be any leniency in any form, even if there was some sort of discretion to do so, just because of their background or their education or their family life, because these are pretty serious. These are the most serious crimes that we can see here of homicide, and it may be a factor more so, these considerations, during the course of the trial, and when those attorneys are going to select that jury to make sure they get a fair and impartial jury, who's going to be looking past, say, what these individuals may have had, and that they've had everything at their fingertips. Why would they have commit this sort of alleged, or why is it alleged that they committed this crime? And that's going to be perhaps more of a consideration at that time, selecting a fair and impartial jury, at trial versus sentencing, where I think that if they are convicted, they're probably going to get the maximum.
And finally, let's chat preventative measures, if any. Preventing cases like these requires understanding the warning signs early. Educational institutions often have a front row seat to students' mental and emotional health, but may not always know how to intervene. So creating environments that encourage students to seek help is critical. What steps can educational institutions take to identify and support students who may be at risk of engaging in violent behavior despite their academic successes, Imran?
Sure. If there's a good faith basis to believe that a student may be dealing with a mental illness that may manifest itself at some point in some sort of violent act, then certainly those educational institutions should do anything under their power and under the law and whatever parameters they have to make sure that that individual gets the mental health treatment that they need, at least in the school setting, right? There's only so many things they could do outside of the school setting. But if there's a credible threat, there is the burden and the responsibility for that school to let law enforcement know that there is someone who is manifesting some desire to commit a violent crime. And they have to make sure that they get that information to those who are in the ability or do have the ability and are in the position to possibly prevent a crime from happening. Of course, there's no such thing as preventive detention in certain ways, but if there is someone who is becoming violent and there is enough for law enforcement or even civil commitment in terms of a mental health institution for action to be taken under the law, then certainly the red flags need to be paid attention to, and these educational institutions need to make sure that they report it to the proper authorities.
Yeah, and I can imagine things like book clubs can often be a clear indication. Apparently, Luigi Mangione had a book club and was urging some of the members to read the Unabomber's manifesto, and they were reading it together. So that could have been a red flag right there, and especially if this was done on some level of school grounds, right? And then we have Brian Koberger. He was studying with some of the most sophisticated professors who covered serial killers, and he was exposed to this on a daily level. Some of the students that took Koberger's class said that he was a very harsh. He would never give an easy mark, right? He was always very harsh. And then the weeks leading after the alleged quadruple murder, he was giving 100s to everyone, which is very interesting to me, right? And I know that you're very enthralled and intertwined in this case because of the documentary you were doing, but it's interesting to me, right? So those are some little subtle, yet could it be something more? I don't know, right? It's more conversation is needed surrounding that.
You know, absolutely. And you pointed out, yes, Brian Koberger in those weeks leading up to the crime was having issues. You know, he got terminated as I believe a teacher assistant because some of the issues, and he had confronted a female student in a very harsh manner. And there were some problems going on in the educational setting that was leading to at least him being terminated, which seems to be a pretty serious consequence for his actions when he is a PhD student. So those are all, red flags and warnings that need to be paid attention to. And if there's any way to stop someone from committing a crime, people have to be vigilant in terms of doing that.
Yeah. Well, we are out of time, Imran. Thank you so much for joining us today and providing such thoughtful insights. These cases remind us of the complexities behind violent crimes and the importance of examining both the psychological and societal factors at play. So thank you so much for breaking that down.
Thanks for having me, Zen.
To our listeners, that was Imran Ansari of Adala Bertuna Kamins, otherwise known as ABK Law, right here in the city. He's also a regular contributor and legal analyst on law and crime. And this was the Scandal segment brought to you by Your Home TV and their channel partners. Make sure you follow Imran on the gram at Imran Ansari ESQ. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. Kelly Williams is full of energy and incredible guests. Watch her anytime, free programming on Your Home TV network, and do follow her on social media for a chance to win monthly prizes. Check out The Kelly Williams Show on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Hi, this is Dr. Daisy. I am triple board certified cosmetic surgeon. I'm going to talk to you guys about getting rid of the double chin. Since the Zoom era started with 2020, I'm sure you've noticed your face when you're FaceTiming anyone or having a Zoom meeting, and you just felt like, gosh, I need to get rid of that double chin if you have it, right? So the question is, that double chin, is it due to fat? Is it due to skin laxity? So there's some of the things you can do to address that. First, determine if it's fat. You want to pinch it and feel the thickness of it, and also pull the skin down and see how easy it gives. If it's very stretchy, then it's a skin problem. But if it's bulk and stretchy, it's a fat and skin problem. So the way you're going to address this, number one, is there are different types of treatment to handle this, okay? You can do exercise. Yes, you can exercise the chin muscle in that area to help improve the contour of that area. And some of the exercise you can do is like a chin to ceiling, lion's roar, or cheek switching, okay? Then you have your injectables. There's a particular one in the market that helps with dissolving the fat, but there are some issues with it too. Like you might have this bulging neck appearance, and if you don't mind that for several days or weeks, then it could be an option for you. And sometimes the results is not symmetric or uniform. Then you have your standard liposuction where you can go in and suck out this fat. But why just do that? Why not do it and address the skin? And that's where something like FaceTite comes in place, where I make a 3 small incision, tiny one right underneath the chin, 2 behind your earlobe that nobody's ever going to see. I go in, suck in the fat, and melt the fat. Helps with heating up the dermis tissue. That's going to cause your body to contract by producing a lot of collagen, and that helps snatch and pull that chin, so you get rid of that double chin and you have a nice jawline and your Zoom face is ready. The cool thing about this procedure, guys, is that it's done awake, it's done in office, so there's 0 to no downtime, and it's minimally invasive because the incision is so small and you don't even know it's there. After the procedure is done, obviously I tell my patients, you have to wear the head garment so you can decrease that dead space and improve your results. That procedure I just described is called FaceTite, and it addresses fat, skin, and it gives you a Zoom face ready. Other times I pair it up with Morpheus 8. Everyone has heard about it. Basically, it's a radiofrequency microneedling that I layer on top of the FaceTite to further snatch that skin, melt that fat, and give you that angular, perfect structure that you're looking for. If that sounds like something you're interested in, my office offers this to all my clients. They've been extremely happy and satisfied, and I want you to come and join on board. So let's get ready.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Polished Beauty Podcast with Dr. Daisy Aim. Hey, ambitious women, ready to shine on the inside and out? Tune in to the Polished Beauty Podcast, where we talk about business, beauty, brains, and body all in one spot. Meet Dr. Daisy Aim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon, pro-aging advocate, fitness enthusiast, and your go-to for real talk on leveling up every part of your life. The Polished Beauty Podcast is your dose of ambition meets empowerment. For more information, head to polishedbeautypodcast.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Are you looking to build a new home? Think about building a barn-dominium. There's just something about getting away from it all. Country living, fresh air, and outdoor entertainment. Watch luxury barn-dominium tours on Your Home TV and let Stacy Lynn, the barn-dominium lady, take you on a journey through her barn-dominium designs.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and of course, all of our episodes are available on Your Home TV and Kathy Ireland Worldwide platform. You could head directly to our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. It's free programming to you, and you don't have to download a single thing. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be back next week.